DOGE is dog shit. Hello and welcome back to Resist 47. In today's episode, I want to talk about what DOGE has been up to, why that's a problem, how it is all smoke and mirrors, or a con game, or a shell game if you want to, a game of three-card monte in which they are distracting you from what's actually going on by promising you that they are saving you money, none of which is true. So let me just get right down to it as fast as I possibly can. To begin with, the 2025 budget, that's the budget that Musk and his DOGE team of Hitler Youth are looking through. The 2025 budget was passed in September of last year. That's the way budgets work. We have to pass a budget before the year begins, before the fiscal year begins, which begins in October of the preceding year. So we are looking at the 2025 budget. That's what he's looking at. Well, the money for all those agencies, OSHA, Consumer Finance Protection Board, Medicare, Medicaid, the Defense, USAID, has all already been appropriated. And those appropriations are laws. Congress passed law saying USAID has this money to spend. So that is within Congress's first Article 1 powers under the United States Constitution. It is not within the power of the president or anyone he appoints, certainly not a billionaire, outsider, businessman who has been unvetted, was not confirmed by the Senate, and has not had a background check, and his team of 6 sub-25-year-old computer experts. It is not within their power to end that spending. They cannot legally stop the spending of that money and transfer it to some other place. There are things they can do, there are things the president can do, and we're seeing him do those things to prevent money from being spent, but he cannot legally take, let's say, the $60 billion for USAID and transfer that anywhere. He can't even give that money back to you by law, because by law, Congress gave that money to USAID to spend. Okay? If there's money left over because he prevents USAID from doing their work, that money might go back into the general fund. I doubt you'll ever see any of it as a tax, as any kind of tax relief, because most of the tax cuts that Trump proposes, we know, are going to corporations who he wants to lower their tax rate to 15% from 21%, and to the wealthy men like Elon Musk. So what we're really seeing then here is just kind of a colossal waste of time and money and energy. Okay? That's really what DOGE is up to. It's all about distraction. It's all about the show. That's why every time Musk thinks he's found some kind of, wasteful spending, he tweets about it in a way that is not right. He tweets about it in a way that is misleading. He mischaracterizes it. Because what he wants to do is to make you angry so that you believe that you're being cheated, so you'll support bigger tax cuts and more power for the executive branch. That's what he's doing. Now, having said all that, it's important also to remember that Musk has not found one single example of fraud up to this point. Not one. Today, when you watch this, it'll be February the 12th. I'm filming this on February the 10th. Up to this point, he has found not one single example of fraud. Because fraud is a crime. And if he'd found an example of fraud, the DOJ, who is run by Trump's, crony, Pam Bondi, and his supporter in the election, stolen election fraud, if he'd found it, she would already be bringing charges, going to a grand jury, trying to get convictions. He's found no fraud. Okay? It's possible that he's found waste, and that's fine. There's a way to deal with that within the law. It's also important for me to say, I think, that there probably is, or I know there's a lot of waste in the Department of Defense. I know it's likely that there are fraudulent claims made on Medicare and Social Security, and because we know that's true, back in 2021, Congress and the president, who at the time was Joe Biden, put in place, a 5-year project to go through Social Security files and try to identify, accounts that were being used fraudulently. And in 2023, they announced that they had in fact found $30 billion worth of fraud, which they ended. That project continues into 2026. So when you see, Musk claiming he's found $100 million worth of Social Security or $100 billion worth of Social Security or Medicare fraud. Well, he's just telling you what Biden and the Biden administration and Congress and that plan had already found. That's nothing new. You can look it up if you want to. So, I'm not saying there isn't waste. I'm not saying there isn't fraud. I'm not saying we shouldn't get rid of it. I'm saying DOGE has no interest in any of that. Okay? And neither does Trump, because there's a way to get rid of that kind of waste, that kind of fraud properly, as I was talking to you about the plan, the project that Biden's administration was undertaking to do that. So what has DOGE actually done? They've lied. They lied to the American public. They lied about the $50 million for condoms to Gaza. Come to find out, the amount of money for all contraception that USAID distributed and that other government departments distributed was around $15 million, and it wasn't just for Gaza, it was literally for the whole world. So Musk told that lie, Trump's press secretary repeated that lie, and we know it's a lie. They are lying to you about what they're finding. They told you tens of millions of dollars were going to gender reassignment surgery in Guatemala. That's not true. That money was going to an organization which promoted LGBTQ rights and acceptance in Guatemala. Now, you may think that's a waste of money. I'm not going to argue with you about that. Okay, but there's nothing fraudulent about that. And as a matter of fact, that was actually a line item thing in USAID's budget. It wasn't even hidden. You could have found it. Matter of fact, that's how Musk found it. Okay, so number one, he's lying to you about things. Number two, he's lying to you about what USAID does. Okay, USAID is an organization through which the United States distributes aid or assistance to impoverished countries or countries that have a kind of government that we don't like. There are a couple purposes of this. One is just strictly speaking humanitarian. USAID does distribute a tremendous amount of food. As a matter of fact, American farmers sell about $2 billion worth of food onto the world markets through USAID. So cutting that money would definitely hurt American farmers. It distributes money for pandemics, and it distributes money to fight famine. It does these things. Okay? It does these things oftentimes by giving grants to organizations that are already on the ground and already have the infrastructure to do those things. And a lot of people think, well, this just makes it a slush fund. They're laundering money. So it gets back to people like the Clintons or Ben Stiller or Bill Kristol. This is not what happens. Okay? You can look it up. Chelsea Clinton has received no money that came through USAID that went to the Clinton Foundation. Again, I'm not saying there's not waste there. I'm saying what you're being told is a lie. Okay? And that's the number one thing that DOGE is actually doing. So back to USAID. USAID is also an important part of American foreign policy. It is what we call soft power. By using our money and our resources to help people in impoverished nations and in difficult situations, we create or we put a positive face on the United States of America. Now, you may not like this, but it is a way of exerting American power around the world. And the United States feels like, up until now, has felt like USAID played an important role in limiting Chinese influence in those very same countries. The people celebrating the destruction of USAID most are the leaders of China and Russia and El Salvador and Hungary and places where they have dictatorships or effective dictatorships. Part of what people don't realize about USAID is that USAID also does top secret things. They're so top secret, there's a SCIF, like literally one of those secure locations in USAID offices where they can discuss top secret information without having to worry about it leaking out. That's the organization that Musk decided and Trump have decided to destroy. But go back to the budget. He has saved no money. Even if he can prevent USAID from spending the $60 billion they were given by Congress by law to spend, that money does not come back to American taxpayers in the form of refunds. That money doesn't go somewhere else. Okay, that money just doesn't get spent. It's not saved. It's still already been collected. It's still already been allocated. It's going to go somewhere. And one of the things we know, since Secretary of State Marco Rubio told us, is that a lot of the missions, a lot of the things that USAID did are going to be absorbed by the Department of State. In other words, some USAID employees are going to become State Department employees, and probably a significant amount of the money that USAID spent is going to become State Department spending. In the meantime, what Musk and Trump, or what President Musk and Trump have tried to do is they've tried to, fire the employees who work for USAID and force them to come home. Well, that means that right now they're on temporary leave. So that means we're paying about 9,700 USAID workers not to work. We are paying them not to work. And to be honest with you, since they're probably all under contract, we're going to be paying them not to work until the end of September. That's my guess. But in addition to that, those workers have filed a lawsuit against the United States government and Trump and DOGE, and that has caused their firing to be upheld by a temporary injunction issued by a judge, which is requiring the Department of Justice and the United States taxpayers to pay for the lawsuit, to pay for our end of the lawsuit. And the result of that may be that those workers go right back to work and that money keeps being spent. So essentially, Musk is destroying USAID and saving us absolutely no money. Okay? He has saved us no money up to this point. And his decision to target USAID as kind of the first agency he targeted is suspicious because USAID was actually investigating Musk because of how he used the money that they gave him for Starlink to one of his businesses. And they were investigating him because they thought he was misusing that money. Not a coincidence, I don't think, that they went after him first. Notice that another agency that President Musk wants to go after is OSHA. OSHA, Occupation Safety and Health Administration, makes sure workplaces are safe. Musk has had several run-ins with OSHA over the years, and they're still investigating him. So surprise, surprise, President Musk wants to shut down OSHA. Okay? This is why you don't put someone like Musk, who probably has gotten at least $20 billion in government contracts, in other words, $20 billion of taxpayer money for services you provide. This is why you don't put that person in charge of this kind of cost cutting, because there is a definite conflict of interest. Now, maybe the cases he has, the investigations of him that are before those organizations have nothing to do with his decision, or maybe they do. We don't know. That's why you don't put somebody with a conflict of interest in there. Additionally, one of the things that DOGE is trying to position itself is that DOGE is on your side. He's on the side of the American taxpayer. They want to, eliminate government waste because it hurts you. Then why is one of DOGE's targets the Consumer Finance Protection Board? Consumer Finance Protection Board protects American citizens from unscrupulous and illegal banking and lending practices. It costs about $800 million a year. That's what it is in the budget. About $800 million a year, I think. But last year, it awarded American citizens around $20 billion because of wrongful, illegal banking practices. So how is it helping you, the consumer, to eliminate an organization which protects you from predatory banking practices and which American citizens have been able to rightfully get money from as a result of, proving that they were the victims of predatory banking practices? He's not interested in helping you. He's not interested in saving you money. He's trying to make you mad about what the government spends, which you could have found out at any time you wanted to because the budget is, a public document. He wants to make you mad as though all this wasteful spending was being hidden from you and you're being cheated and there's some kind of fraudulent thing going on when he has proof of none of that. And his real interest is in justifying your outrage at government spending to justify a tax cut, which will primarily go to people like him and his businesses. That's really what's going on. So what could he have done? So, I'm not arguing that we don't need to eliminate government waste. And certainly we need to eliminate fraud in our major government programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We need to eliminate those things. I'm not arguing that. But what could he have done instead? He could have done exactly what he started off doing, identifying areas of waste, inform congressional committees that oversee these departments, those congressional committees which would be controlled by Republicans, about this wasteful spending and encourage them to cut that spending from the 2026 budget. In other words, he could have followed the law. He could have gone to Congress, who actually has the power to cut this spending, and told them to cut the spending in the 2026 budget, which meant it would have been cut by September of this year. Instead, he has illegally usurped power. He has illegally tried to fire people. He has incurred lawsuits. He's paying people not to work. And a lot of the money he claims to have saved will just be shifted to other departments. So not doing it right is actually costing us more money. That's what DOGE could have done instead of what he's done. On top of that, and to make matters even worse, now DOGE is a real threat to the Constitution because one of the judges who issued a temporary restraining order stopping DOGE from having access to your private financial data and information, that judge has now come under attack from Musk, who says he should be impeached, and from J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, who said that the courts don't have the power to stop the executive branch. That is a statement at odds with the checks and balances of the United States Constitution, and if you come to accept that the court shouldn't be able to even temporarily check the powers and actions of the executive branch, you are supporting dictatorship. That's what J.D. Vance is doing. That's what President Elon Musk is doing. That's what Donald Trump is doing. They are trying to make the executive the only power within the United States government. That's unconstitutional, and it's a threat to democracy. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and as always, thank you for watching.